Chapter 1. 10-year-old Jonathan sat in the back seat of his family car, looking ahead nervously. From a distance, he could see the sprawling wooden lodge before them, surrounded by rolling hills. It used to be a country inn, his mom had said, a place where people stayed on vacation. If he closed his eyes, he could imagine what it might have been like. The warm lodge filled with families and couples, smiling and laughing, swimming in the pool out back, and eating fancy dinners in the restaurant. Maybe some were packing backpacks to hike on the trails just beyond the property. He could imagine his own family there, his mom and little sister on a walk looking for wildflowers, while he was in the pool, crouched on his dad's shoulders with his eyes screwed shut in excitement. "Okay, are you ready?" says his dad, laughing. 1, 2, 3! And all of a sudden, Jonathan flies into the air and lands in the water with a huge splash. He pops out of the water and swims right back to his dad for at least the 8th time. Somehow his dad's arms never get tired. And then Jonathan opened his eyes. The building was much closer now, and the terrible feeling in the pit of his stomach grew. As they pulled into the parking lot, it now stood before them, inescapable. "Okay, here we are," said Mom, forcing a smile. "Let's go see your dad." His little sister Sarah squealed and struggled to unbuckle her seatbelt, but Jonathan didn't move. His mom came around, helped Sarah with her seatbelt, and opened the car door. Jonathan still hadn't moved. "Come on, Jonathan. He's waiting for us. Your dad can't wait to see you. They're having pizza for lunch today," she added, trying to entice him. She knew pizza was his favorite. "I'm not coming," Jonathan said flatly. The words stomped out of his mouth with a mind of their own. He purposely looked straight ahead, unable to even look at his mom's face. The silence between them seemed to last forever. He could hear other car doors open and shut all around him. Each time the lodge doors opened, he heard sounds of forced excitement, but the silence between them was even louder. Finally, he heard his mom say, "Are you sure?" "Yes," he said, with no explanation. He knew he probably couldn't get away with it, but his mom surprised him. "All right, honey. I'm not going to make you go see your dad, but I'm very disappointed, and I know your dad will be too. Come on, Sarah." She didn't sound angry. She sounded tired. He watched his mom and sister enter the large wooden doors and then disappear. A few more people trickled in, and then it was quiet. No, he couldn't pretend everything was going to be okay anymore. It was not okay. His dad had been a surgeon at a hospital, saving people's lives, and now he didn't even go to work at all. He couldn't take Jonathan to the pool. He couldn't even get out of bed. He said he was too tired. When he did manage to get up, his eyes were half open, and he couldn't remember things you had told him yesterday. His mom said he was sick, but he heard her talk to her friends at night long after she thought he was asleep. He heard the words Oxycontin and opioids and detox. He got on the internet to look these words up, and he soon figured out his dad was addicted to drugs, the same drugs he gave his patients for surgery. His dad had even been to jail. No one had told him, but he knew. One night, he heard his mom's phone ring. "Hello? What? Where?" "I'm on my way." She hung up the phone and crept into Jonathan's room and whispered, "Jonathan, honey, your dad's car isn't starting, and he needs me to pick him up from the hospital. Can you stay here with your sister? Keep the door locked. I'll be home very soon." When his mom and dad got home, he heard them arguing. "I'm sorry," he heard his dad say in a dull voice. His mom spoke in a furious whisper. "You were arrested for stealing from the hospital pharmacy? Jeremiah reported you? You and I both know he would never have done that unless he had no choice. How long has this been going on?" "I don't know." Even without seeing him, Jonathan knew his dad had already retreated into his own world, a million miles away. His dad hated conflict. His mom must have known his dad was already gone, because he didn't hear any more talking after that. That's when his dad stopped going to work, and his mom started staying up late at night taking classes on the computer. Whenever Jonathan came home from school, his dad was usually in bed with the bedroom door shut. A few months later, he had come home from school and Mom was sitting at the kitchen table waiting for him. His dad was nowhere to be seen, as usual. Mom smiled, her usual forced smile. "What's wrong, Mom?" "Oh, nothing, sweetie. I actually have some good news. You know your dad hasn't been feeling well for a while now, but he's going to a special hospital where they're going to help him get better. He has to live there for 3 months, which I know sounds like a long time, but we'll go visit him, and it's actually a beautiful place. It used to be a country inn. He's finally going to get better. Isn't that great?" Jonathan could tell by his mom's face that she wasn't so sure. So he put on his most cheerful smile, as if he was delighted by the news, and said, "That's great, Mom." She looked so relieved that he wanted to cry. But he didn't. He gave her a hug and said, "I'll go play with Sarah so you can rest, Mom. Don't worry about anything. Dad's going to be okay." "Thank you, sweetie. I probably should work on my nursing homework. I don't know what I'd do without you." She kissed him on the top of the head and went back to her bedroom where her laptop was. His mom began spending more and more time on her online classes, and he spent more of his time watching his sister. Every time his friends asked to get together, he had to say he couldn't because he had to watch his sister. So eventually, they stopped asking. After Sarah went to bed, he had more time to himself, which he usually spent on Netflix. His favorite show was about a family of cops and lawyers in New York City whose family mission was to catch the bad guys. And then they would have a big family dinner every week, talking and arguing and laughing. He didn't know why his mom had called the country inn a hospital. It wasn't a hospital. It was more like a prison for people who took drugs, for bad people like his dad. Each year, police officers came to his school and put on a week-long program about the dangers of taking drugs and the terrible things that could happen if you did. At the end of the week, there was a huge carnival on the school playground with bounce houses, rock climbing walls, and games where you got a prize, like a stuffed animal or a keychain, for throwing a plastic ring around a glass bottle. His dad was a doctor. Surely he knew that taking drugs was bad. Why did he do it? Sitting in the parking lot of the old country inn, Jonathan got angrier and angrier. No, everything was not okay. Finally, his mom and sister got back into the car. They didn't say a word. His mom simply started the car and started driving. The ride home was quiet, the silence surrounding them like the big open sky. Jonathan felt like he was falling into that great abyss forever, never to stop. 3 days later, his mom got a phone call. He would never forget the sound she made just seconds after putting the phone to her ear. It was like all the life was being pulled out of her through her voice, and then there was that silence again, the abyss. Somehow, he managed to walk over to his mom as she sat on the floor with the phone in her hand. It was her expression that scared him most of all. Her face looked completely blank, as if she simply wasn't even there. He felt her arms pull him close. "There was a terrible accident," she whispered. "Your dad died last night at the hospital." She didn't say how he died, and, to be honest, he was afraid to ask. Probably an overdose, he thought bitterly. That seemed to be how everyone died when they were addicted to what his dad was addicted to. Then the world seemed to jump into high gear and begin spinning faster and faster around him. Grandparents and aunts and uncles suddenly filled their home. There was a funeral, and that too was a blur. Only a few of his dad's work friends came. He overheard his aunt saying to his mom, "They probably don't know what to say. It's for the best they're not here." His grandfather began making plans to move them back to Washington, D.C. to be closer to them. But Mom insisted they didn't need any help. "We're fine," she kept saying. "I've been working on completing my nursing degree, and I already have 3 great leads for jobs. Jonathan's been a huge help, and Sarah will be going into full-day preschool soon. Plus, the hospital made a huge exception to their policy and is giving us the portion of the pension Derek had earned." "Everything's going to be fine," she said again. "The sooner we get to a new normal, the better." What she didn't say was that they were only receiving 3 months' worth of Dad's pension, or that when his dad died, his mom discovered tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debt, or that the nursing requirements had changed so much in the last 10 years since his mom started her degree that she pretty much had to start all over in school. She did her best to hide it, but Jonathan could tell that his mom was ashamed of what had happened with his dad. "It's not your fault," Jonathan wanted to tell her. She was proud and independent, and he could relate to that. From the first day Jonathan returned to school after the funeral, he had felt everyone's looks of curiosity and pity. So he simply put his head down and did what it took to be the best at everything, from grades to sports to helping out at home to earning extra money from mowing yards, raking leaves, and anything that wouldn't take him too far from home so he could also watch his sister, make sure she did her homework, and get dinner started. He became a master of making macaroni and cheese from a box, as his mom often had to work past dinner time. She was becoming a registered nurse, and it was taking much longer than she expected. So she took a job as a nursing home aide while she finished up her classes. Exhausted to the bone, she'd get home at 8 in the evening, kiss Jonathan and Sarah on top of their heads, help Jonathan finish pulling dinner together, and then go straight to the computer again to work late into the night. One night, as Jonathan brought her a cup of coffee to help fuel her late night studying, he asked her, "Did you always want to be a nurse, Mom?" She gave him a sad smile. "You know, your dad and I met in medical school. I actually wanted to be a doctor at first. But then I realized it would be a tough family life for us with 2 doctors, so I decided to become a nurse. I thought it would give me the chance to spend more time taking care of people, and that's really what I wanted to do." She put her cup of coffee down and gave him a hug. "So I switched programs and began working on my nursing degree. I never ended up finishing it because then I had you and Sarah, and that was enough for me. I was always glad I hadn't become a doctor because a surgeon's life is very stressful." Her voice trailed off and her eyes filled with tears. Jonathan didn't ask her any more questions about becoming a nurse after that. Now she needed him to take care of her, and that's what he would do. Hundreds of miles away on the California coast, a man dressed in a navy pinstripe suit sat at his desk in a large home overlooking the ocean. As he went through the day's mail, he found a printed copy of an online obituary with a sticky note saying, "I thought you'd want to know." The obituary was for a surgeon from a small town in Colorado who had suddenly passed away. A short list of survivors, no picture. The man sat quietly for a long time. Then he called his assistant. "Glenda, can you find me an address for Meredith Bowman?"
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.